That's the content. That's teacher.
Ready, Susan? Okay. All right, I want to call us back into our regular session at 11:22 a.m. And on the executive session, there is no action to be taken from the executive session. And so that moves us to item number 12, adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move.
All right.
Second, Pearson.
All right, motion made, say all those in favor, say aye. All right, regular session has been completed. And I guess the question now becomes, do we want to continue on with the workshop? When it was scheduled, everyone was in agreement to be here, and now two of our commissioners are not here. So we can either go forward with it and they can get updates from the video, and or most of it's my stuff and it's just procedural stuff that I want to explain. So, question, do you want to continue with the workshop right now?
I don't care, we're here, so let's get it done.
My agreement entirely. All right. So I will call the workshop to order at 11:23 p.m. And we have one public comment from Mrs. Jones.
Yes, stay here, make it.
Yes, you may.
I'm here representing the historical commission, and I know she has something on your agenda for this. Just as a matter of information, not to get back to the rest of the report.
Okay, well, this is not anything on the historical commission. I don't know what is.
It's Texas Historical Commission who,
Yeah, it's not the local, it's the Texas Historical Commission. Is that the commission you're talking about?
Yes.
The one located in Austin? Okay, all right. So, and what was your comment?
I'm just here to gather information to take back to the board meeting
What board members?
of the Texas Historical Commission.
You're on the board of the Texas Historical Commission.
I'm on the board of the Zandt County Historical.
Okay, all right. Well,
And you're under the Texas Historical.
all right, well, we're glad you're here. Is there anything else you need to comment on? We're glad to give you the time. And this is one of the differences in a workshop and a regular session. I have the ability to respond to your questions.
we can respond.
Right. So,
And you can ask questions.
Right.
And we ask you to, we encourage you to ask questions on whatever topic we're covering.
all right. Item number 3, discuss changes, modifications, additions to policies related administrative time and administrative leave. We briefly discussed this in one of our regular sessions, I believe, about what I wanted to point out was I think that it would be in our best interest to eliminate the administrative time policy that we currently have, because it's quite clear from the Attorney General that the elected officials have the ability to determine when employees get to take administrative time. And it's not up to the county per se to do that. Now, what what is not affected, that applies to all employees that work for elected officials. What is not covered is those employees that do not work directly for an elected official, but maybe work for the commissioner's court. There's 4 departments in that regard. There's the fire marshal, there is human resources, there is the public buildings, and the 4th is, help me out. I've temporarily forgotten.
Library.
IT. IT is for, I didn't even think of the library, but I have seen what some other counties have done. I've got the resolution that they did in order to alleviate this problem is to basically the resolution says that any county employee who does not work directly for an elected official would be under the county judge. That way, all employees in the county would be under an elected official. And that would allow us to delegate the administrative time to the individuals in those departments. That I could do that if need be. So that is what I'm here to discuss today is to delete or to eliminate the current administrative leave policy, which says we get up to 20 hours of administrative leave per employee. So, thoughts?
Yeah, I think we need to do away with that because it's not right.
And we still need administrative leave for those people who do not currently work for an elected official, because there's situations where something comes up and they are to be put under investigation, and they need to be put on administrative leave while the investigation is conducted. So
I don't know why any employee would be under administrative leave, with the exception of the fire marshal's office. Law enforcement would be the only, that I can see, the only one that would be in that category. Every other IT, library, and all them, I don't know why they would ever be under administrative leave.
if they have an accident related to their job and they have to, that accident has to be investigated, but they don't are not able to work or perform their job during that time.
I don't believe that qualifies myself, but I'm not a lawyer.
The one that immediately comes to mind to me is if they were accused of theft or sexual harassment or something like that, they have to be prolonged until the investigation is over. And until there is some type of sustained finding, it needs to be paid for. So, and that would be true for any employee of the county law enforcement law.
I agree.
Well, you can do away with it. I'm not for putting those people were all hired by the court. I'm not for putting those people directly under the supervision of the county judge myself.
I have 2 questions on that. One, if they're under the commissioner's court, then they're under the five elected officials.
Okay, well,
So that's elected officials, but what do you deem administrative time versus administrative leave? What's the difference?
Administrative time was our plan where they had up to 20 hours a year allocated to them. The administrative time is related to snow days. Okay, where if the county has to close because of bad weather, or they just can't make it to work because of bad weather, they would have up to 20 hours to take off in that regard. Administrative leave is when they're required to be off of work because of investigation or
Some incident.
in that regard. That's the difference between the leave is required in order to do an investigation, and whereas the time is just kind of an option. That's what the two.
And all administrative leave should not be paid. So there's each case is different. That's why it's gonna have to come back to this court to decide if they're gonna be off paid or if they're off. If they're
Well, I
gonna-
think what Judge is saying is that according to the Attorney General, that's not up to the court, that's up to the elected official for that department.
It is under the elected official, but we're talking about the four departments that are not under the elected. It's cut and dry under the elected officials. This court has nothing to do with it and cannot control it. But we're talking about the library and HR and
IT and the public buildings.
yes. So each case is always gonna be, I don't think it should be administrative leave myself, it should be crisis leave. There's some kind of crisis going on that you have to address. And some of those crises will be entitled to pay, some of those crises will be not entitled to pay. Until it's investigated. Some of those crises may be wind up with termination. And it's gonna be determined after that investigation. So each deal is a separate item to me that you have to look at.
I just know in the past when I've granted it, it's been denied, because it was in excess of the policy.
It should not have been. But it's never been written down, but everybody knows that this court has no authority over how any elected official runs their department. Their only accountability is to the people at voting time. And so the rest of it.
So what you're saying is that those four departments are accountable to the commissioner's court, which is 5 elected officials, so therefore it's covered. Is that what you're saying?
Whatever.
Saying that you guys, we elect you, so those four
That-
departments come under elected officials.
That's correct,
They
but
come
these,
under the elected officials report,
that's correct, but these 5 have to make that decision, not one.
correct? They're still elected.
I can see where on your 4 or 5 different divisions, where you have a contact person, to make the initial contact that takes it to the commission, the rest of the commission, or to the court for the decision to be made on something. But no one individual should have total responsibility of saying yes or no without presenting. it to the court.
We have that now. We have 2
That's what
liaisons.
I'm saying.
Yes,
As far as him, the county judge being the one, being the administrator over, that should be all.
Well, the situation for the commissioner's court to make a decision requires it to be put on an agenda unless we do a special meeting. In either case, it still requires 72-hour notice in that regard to have a meeting. So I'm not going to take it any further. I guess the question is, do we still want to have an administrative leave policy? Or not? It would only affect, no, it would only affect those 4.
Reality, no different than administrative.
Right.
We just had it worded that way for however long this policy's been in place, at least since 2018.
So what's your suggestion?
It's gonna be confusing to the employees.
Keep in mind, you have, like, the juvenile department, the director there, she's appointed. She has the juvenile board that she works with, so would that qualify the same? That she would go to her board? Or would she have that authority, because she's not an elected officially? They manage their own time.
Right. Is that true? Is that true of adult probation too? Aren't they county employees?
No, they're not.
They get paid.
No, you're right. You're right. Pass, but they're not county
They're not
employees.
county, but they're,
Their time or anything like that. They don't get any of our medical benefits. But the juvenile does.
yeah, juvenile does, but the adult probation department is under the state.
Yes.
So,
But in my opinion, we don't need this in our employee handbook because it does not go. We have learned since we had our meeting, listed with TAC, that we didn't need this policy at all. Now, I think that since we do have the liaisons, that every department has someone they can go to outside to discuss something. I think if you have two liaisons, regardless of which two it is, should be able to make that decision on that person's administrative leave time, at least for up to the 72 hours, when you can have a meeting to extend it beyond that time.
I understand it's tricky. I don't like doing away with it towards not trackable. Let's hope not, but every organization has had bad employees. So if you get a bad supervisor and they start taking advantage of that, letting their employees off all the time, you have to have some way to track it to bring attention to it. Otherwise, the first thing you know, you say I'm in your position and I go bad and I start letting Emily off every day. There has to be some way to track. There has to be some kind of accountability. Same thing at the library, same thing at the fire marshal's office, same thing in the IT. Yeah, and that's why we have it set up like it is, to try to track that and hold that down. We know there's times that you have to be off for administrative leave, and we just, you know, you can call an emergency meeting before 72 hours, or you can ratify that. That's why I tried to say the other day on that deal we were in. You can, Kenny could pay them, and then we could come back and ratify it. They're still employees. You can still hold that amount out of their next check if they're going to be dismissed or whatever. To me, there's accounting ways to do this to still hold tracking and accountability. I just believe everybody in the court, elected officials and employees both, for Van Zandt County or any other county or any other government, should be held accountable.
So you're not changing anything in our policy then?
Well, I just don't want to get it for it's not trackable.
Yeah.
And not come.
well, eliminating the policy is not gonna make it non-trackable. You still have to put in admin for the hours. In order for them to get paid, you have to code it to something, and they can code it to admin, and you can still
But
track.
if you don't have a policy, how are you going to discipline a supervisor if you have no policy to show that they're breaking the policy?
Okay, it's not super, it's the elected official. Has the,
And elected officials are out of this. You don't have to bring up elected officials. They're not under it. I'm talking about if that lady right there is an HR, she starts giving Emily off every day, you can't come back in and punish the HR supervisor if you don't have a policy that she's breaking. How you gonna spank her hand if there's no policy that she broke it? I'm just using, excuse me, I'm using you for an example. I'm not, okay? I'm just using the example.
so you're interested in accountability and making sure it gets tracked. How does that happen under elected officials, under their departments, and how administrative time is handed out?
It doesn't under elected officials. They're out of it.
So
Elected
there is-
officials can do anything they want to do with their employees.
So,
They're held accountable by the voters.
so only those that don't report directly to an elected official are required to abide by the rules. Is that what you're saying? And we set the rules as being this administrative policy that we have.
That's the only ones that you have say so over, Andy. If you want to let Christie off every day, you'll be held accountable during the
Yeah.
polls.
Yeah.
The voters will take care of that whenever you run for reelection. That's covered. If I want to let precinct 3 off every day for 2 months, there is absolutely not one thing you can do to me until election time comes up.
Do we need that in a policy?
We do not.
Okay, then what is the policy we have now? Do we need that?
We do the administrative time policy 289. We do not need that because they basically mean the same thing. You can put someone on
Yeah.
administrative leave with
Right.
or without pay, if that elected official chooses to.
Yeah.
To let them go have a 4-day weekend if they want to. I mean, is it right? Not really, but it's, they can do if they want to.
So that's the question.
Well, right now,
So this.
Right now, they can't do that.
The next, any elected official doesn't have to go by this at all.
That right now they can't do it. That's why we need to do away with the policy we have.
well, we're
That's
not
what I'm
talking
saying.
about elected officials. We're talking about the 4 departments that are not under elected officials. Now, yes, ultimately they are, but Andy's wanting to make it under one, and then you've eliminated all. If you put everything under Andy, I agree with you. You don't need the policy. But as long as those 4 supervisors that are not, that answer to this court, it should come back to this court and let this court decide what.
If you don't want to put them all under me, just divide it up among the commissioners on what,
No, I don't, no, sir, Andy, it's not against you. They should not be answering to any one person on this court. They answer to the court. Not to any one person. Not to any one individual,
And that's, we can make it like that.
Yeah.
We can make it like that.
you put it under any one individual, you take, you put it under me and you put the fire marshal under me. If I decide I want a new fire marshal, you poor boys are out of luck. I'm gonna dismiss that fire marshal and go hire me a new one. And I don't have to come to you. Okay, there's your example. If I want a new librarian and she's under me, I don't have to come to this court. You're dismissed. I'm gonna get me somebody I want. And I don't believe that's correct.
all right, let's move on. Obviously, we're not in agreement on that, and it's not gonna happen. All right, item number 4, discuss distribution of textile materials. I believe that's yours.
We need to table that because we got,
Yeah, we
sure-
tabled that.
we sure have to table that.
We worked it out. So we're ready for the next one.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go to item number 7, discuss signs for various county facilities. And I just want to make sure we were okay with, we've had requests to put in certain parking lots, employee parking only. It's mostly to alleviate situations with the, first Monday, we get a lot of downtown traffic and whatnot, but, at the DA's office, and actually they've asked for it, I think, in Wills Point in certain places, but is that okay
Yeah,
to put that? Okay,
Well, I mean, what, explain to me now, you lost
so you
me.
see the signs.
no parking, employee parking only for county parking lots.
On all of our lots?
Not all of them, just selected ones. The DA's parking is one.
Yes.
And actually the one up on the hill,
This parking right over here, it's
Wow.
always been, no, huh?
We should have one of them.
Yeah, we do have one. I put one over there.
okay,
It says county employees only,
okay.
and it's pretty well packed.
Okay. So
But if
then,
you want to put a different sign up there, I don't have any.
well, we want to make them uniform in what we do,
that's
so
fine.
I'll go look at that and see. how we
Yeah.
do it. The other thing that I was considering, I wanted to get y'all's input on is putting a 4x4 metal sign for getting them for each of the precinct barns to put out on the chain link fence that faces the road. Because the 2 of them, I remember when I was out visiting, and I had never been there before, and couldn't, they didn't have a sign. Some of them don't have signs. And some of them are on the building, but anyway, it would be advantageous to have a sign with a barn phone number in case somebody needs to call or see something needs to call, and also for deliveries, so somebody knows that this is the right address for delivery. These signs, a 4x4 metal sign is $216.
You gonna pay for it?
I will pay for it out of the public buildings fund if you don't think it's worth your spending your road and bridge money to designate your barn. Yes, I will.
Did you see my barn? I've got a big sign up there on My barn says precinct 2. County barn.
I've got a 4x6 on the front of precinct 3, says Van Zandt County Precinct 3 Maintenance Facility. I will agree with you. I do need to put the address. We did have the address on our fence. And we put up a new fence, and I have not put that address back up. I do need to do that. I'll agree with you that. I do not want to post the phone number. There's nobody there to answer the phone. If they have an emergency, they should call the 911 on the weekend. They should call the 911 office. If it's during the week, they should call my office here. It's posted. People have gotten frustrated over that at that office because they call and they call and they call and they call. Hey, I can't get nobody to answer that phone. No, you sure can't. We're out working.
I used to tell them that.
We're not sitting there in that office. I would just soon that phone be taken away. At one time it was needed because of, that we needed a way to get a hold of the employees, but with the cell phones now, that's not necessary. But I will agree with you, the address does need to be on our fence.
I don't have any objection. And I take my phone records and I return those phone calls.
Okay.
So,
Well, if you want a sign, I'll get one made.
yeah,
And I'll run the artwork by you to make sure what's on there.
Yeah.
But you bring up another question. Do we need to take the barn phones off the website?
I think so, because it just confuses the customer, but there again, Chad's not here and he's not going to agree with that because Chad has put an admin in his barn, so he may prefer.
Well, that's what I
people-
said.
So yes, sir, I think that would be an individual commissioner decision.
yeah.
But at least I could get the design the same, and the information on there is customizable by the commissioner.
Right.
Yes, sir, and I would love for you to design a address sign that I could put on. It doesn't have to say Van Zandt County, because I've got a 4x6 on front. You go down Highway 64, and we got somebody wants to say something like that. You go down Highway 64, you're not gonna have a doubt of mind on the front and back of that building what it is. Because it's a 4x6 sign, says Van Zandt County Precinct 3 Maintenance.
Okay. All right.
I personally don't like county barn. That's an outdated statement.
That's why I like it, because it's outdated. It's historical.
Yeah. I don't work at barn. I work at maintenance. That's gentleman.
Is there any reason you can't put a general number on each barn on the front that is routed to your ABS up here that give people the option to leave with the county barn or be directed to another?
That's what I'm hoping, that when Scott goes to the new phone system that we have, that number
My
will,
phone system doesn't.
yes, hopefully the new phone system will roll over to the,
Because there's been times, with our storm spotting, what have you. We get out, my only option is if I don't have your numbers or a way to contact somebody at your barn, I got to call sheriff's office and interfere with them.
Yes.
So there's got to be a different method there instead of interfering. And so trying to get a hold of one of your barns to get something taken care of, middle of nowhere.
yes, sir, I think that's going, it's a new system. I think right now you can't, but the new system, I believe, is going to do that.
So I may wait until we get a new system in to see if
See what
there's
it
phone
does.
numbers that we
Yeah.
want to do that.
Yes, sir.
That would that's a good idea. So I can start working on the artwork and then get
Yes,
your
sir.
input on that. All right, very good. So item number 5, there any more on county signs? That's the only, all I had, those two, is the discuss courthouse renovation through the grant to the Texas Historical Commission. I want to give you a little history, and of course, these two gentlemen have been here and they know it all. The whole purpose of this workshop was to update the two newest commissioners, but we'll just have to get with them on the side. So basically, our county courthouse was built in 1937. That's 86 years ago. Updates. These are things that I'm finding as I go through a lot of documentation and all to document when it happened. A lot of it is hard to find. In 1986, the air conditioning and heating was installed. That's all the pipes that you see around here. Every room has its own separate little window air conditioning unit, and it's run by hot and cold water. And hopefully it's cold water in the summer and hot water in the winter. Sometimes it doesn't work that way, but and that's what. So that was 60 years ago. It was installed. In 1996, we had some major work. We had windows replaced and the district courtrooms updated and painted. The windows were replaced because they were broken from a hailstorm. And I'll show you some more things that were happening on that. 2011, the County Court of Law, County Courtroom, and TAC office. TAC office used to be in this room right here, and we bought the East Annex and moved them out there. We set this up as a county courtroom and built out this area over there for the new County Court of Law over there, and moved everything around. So that was the only update was to these two offices or these two courtrooms and as far as this courthouse goes. In 2020, we had that outside chiller installed, the updated, and that was about $200,000. And then in 2022, we had the roof replaced after a major rainstorm caused major leaking, and we spent $500,000 on a new roof, which is a 40-year roof. It's a 40-year lifetime roof, so should last for a while. So and so these are the new things that we have done to the courthouse in the last 5 years. That's a new water pump for the $16,000, and then the air conditioning unit, and then it shows you the new roof. That's what's been done. So our current situation is the outside stone on this building is deteriorating greatly. It has been for quite some time. I have not been able to determine when the last time any repairs were done to it, but you can see where repair work has been done, but nothing's been done in the last 30 years. And the windows need repair and sealing all the way around. Some of them don't shut. Some of them are rusting out. I'll show you that. We got plumbing leaks. We got 2 floors that are used for storage only. That's the 4th floor is used for storage for the district clerk for files, and the 5th floor is used, which is still a jail. The jail cells are still up there, and it's used for storing files too. And then the other situation that concerns me is there's no fire alarm system in this building. So if somebody's space heater gets left on overnight and starts a fire, there's nothing to warn anybody because there's no fire alarm system in this building. So those are the major. Now I go to the items I'm talking about with the stonework. You can see because the mortar at the very top of the courthouse is coming out, that is making the water is running down inside behind the stonework. When the water goes behind the stone, there's a piece of rebar that's used to hold that stone on the building. That rebar gets rusty and starts swelling, and when it swells, it pushes the stone out, and that's where you see those little indents that come out. And so that's the main thing. And then if you look at the bottom picture there that shows the courthouse, the backside of the courthouse, and you can see the condition of the windows. When we had windows replaced, which I believe are on the west side, we had trustees come and do painting. And you'll notice that the bottom 2 floors are black because they got painted black by the trustees. The upper floors never got painted, the 3rd and 4th and 5th, because the trustees' ladders wouldn't go that high. This is what I've been told. Okay, this is the history as I've heard, and you can see the paint. The black paint is still all over the windows. The splatters are all over the windows, or all over the concrete down below. So it wasn't done professionally. I'm not going to leave it at that. But you know, we need to address this and get these windows fixed in this part of the courthouse renovation. So, and then there's some other things, and to tell you about the neglect that occurred, that was a tree that was growing out of the roof before we had the flood event and got the roof replaced. That's how long, and so you can see, and then the bottom one you see is the front steps, and you come in, you see where that concrete is come apart. And that needs to be, there's just lots of things like that. So this is our boiler from 1963 is when it was installed, and that's the pump that got replaced. It shows you the new one from the earlier. So I'm actually working on getting the boiler replaced. That may be part of this year's project in the public buildings fund. So, but a lot of the drains, not a lot, but there's drains that are rusting out and that need to be replaced. It's cast iron pipes because of neglect over the years. These are on the 4th floor, no, it's 5th floor is where these are from, around the jail. So anyway, these are the file cabinets that are on the 4th floor for the district clerk. And I've been told, I don't have this as a fact, but I've been told that the weight that is on these floors, the building was not originally designed to support that much weight. So that's another reason why it would be in our best interest to get these moved to a different facility or somewhere else where it's not putting so much strain on there. Because we keep adding to it. Every year we add more up there in that regard. So, and part of it, so that's where we come down to the Texas Historical Commission grant. Texas Historical Commission, every biennium has a fund for restoring courthouses, and you apply for this grant. We applied for the grant in 2000, or we actually started design work with a grant from the Texas Historical Commission back in 2018, and to get all the plans and design on renovating the courthouse. They were completed in 2020, and that was the year that the Texas Historical Commission opened for bids. And so we applied for the grant in 2020. The Texas Historical Commission at that time would award up to $6 million per courthouse, per county for a courthouse. But the grant had to be approved. And we were down to 5.5 because we spent 6,000, or we used 500,000 for the design work and the architectural drawings for this whole plan. So we missed the grant in June. We were notified in June 2020 that we missed the grant by 1 point. And so there was nothing offered to us. And then in November, the Texas Historical Commission came back and offered us $3 million toward the of the 6 million or 5.5 million to be available. And the Commissioners Court voted not to move forward, and I will explain why here in just a second. From all the work that we had done, 600,000 we spent on the design and the estimates. The renovation cost was set to be $11,907,425. And the cost involved in relocating, this was not in any paperwork. It's just the estimate that I put out there, probably about $2 million somewhere, because you got and then the cost for design and blueprints and estimates, that was the grant that we did start in 2018 and we got completed. So the Texas Historical Commission paid for roughly, we paid $181,000 and Texas Historical Commission paid the rest. The situation is on a renovation, because the building has asbestos. Again, I told you that the AC system was installed in 1963, well before the asbestos was known to be a carcinogen. And so all the pipes that are in here are wrapped in asbestos, and certain floors are set down glue with asbestos glue. And so consequently, they would need to be abated is what it would amount to. So the restoration included complete new air conditioning or water for the air conditioners, completely new electrical wiring. And again, the windows would all have to be taken care of. So the courthouse would have to be vacated for the time for this to happen, which if you go look at Fannin County and I think Upshur County now, they're all going through that process where they have they had to vacate the courthouse while the work is done. And I'm estimating it'd be at least 2 years that we would not have use of the courthouse in order to get the design, to get everything done that need to be done. So the Texas Historical Commission has upped the grant amount to $10 million. Now we've already used 500,000, so we would have up to 9.5 million available to us on this new cycle of grants. And the applications are due by May of next year. And so what my intent is to take what I desire to do, and this is what I just want to make sure before I invest all this time in doing it, you want me to do this, and that is to go and take our existing plans that we've got and do some modifications to them and use them to apply for this grant in next year. And some of the changes I want to make is right now, the plans that they did was just to make the 5th floor, 4th floor, and 5th floor office, just open space, open office space, or not office space, open storage space, and which is really not an effective use of the money that we end up spending. And so what I want to do is go back and design in office space for the 4th and 5th floors, or possibly another courtroom space for the 4th floor. If at some point in time we need to do that, or may not, but just to give us some flexibility to do that. But in order to do that on the 4th and 5th floors, we would have to require engineering multiple stairwells to be designed in the plans. Currently, there's only there's the elevator, and then there's a stairwell that goes from the 5th floor to the 4th floor, but doesn't hit the 5th floor to the 3rd floor. That was for taking prisoners from the jail directly to the courtroom. So it's 5th to the 3rd, and it skips the 4th. That would need to be redesigned to stop at the 4th. And then you need to have 2 stairwells. So, envisioning, I need them to design in stairwells, and a second stairwell that would go from 5th, 4th, and that's probably the 3rd floor up to this side. So again, this is some of the engineering work that needs to be done. I don't know about the elevator replacement, but I need to go in and see. But also the whole process, because the initial grant was done in 2018 or 19 or 20, those prices have changed a little bit since then. And so we would need to find out what the new total cost would be. So my question is, do we move forward? Do you want me to move forward with all this?
What would the match be on it? What would our match be?
Okay, it's not a match, it's a grant.
Yeah, they're gonna give us a whole nothing. They're just gonna give us $10 million if we or $9,500,000.
Yes, that is how much up to we could get in the process.
And no match. We'd have to pay it back.
West and I work on, we did 2 or 3 different ones.
Well, when you say no match, we pay for everything else, everything over $9.5 million.
That's what we need to figure out, then what we're
Right.
gonna pay for.
Right. So we would have to pay, and that's why we don't know what it would be until we get updated cost figures in that regard. And it, in my mind, it will require a bond election in order to fund the.
Percentages, there should be files still in y'all's office of us working on it.
I have all the files. What is it you're looking for?
I seem to remember that there was a match.
Yeah.
Part of it was, of course, the money that we were spending, but it was way above.
It was way above what we would, yeah.
Well-
No, it's not. It's like Andy said, it's not a match.
Well,
They
it's-
give
It's
95.
what we would have to pay to complete the project.
That's correct.
which
Right.
is-
So if we use the 2020 project, it was 12 million, roughly $12 million to renovate the courthouse. Plus the cost to renovate, to relocate everybody, which I estimated, at today's price of 2 million. So you take 9.5 million off of that and you get what, 4 million, but that's in those prices. So you can anticipate it would be a minimum of 30% more.
Big more than that.
Yeah, so, but, and it would require a bond election for us to fund it. And for the voters to say yes to it before we could do it, because we can't fund it.
How much more office space would the fourth and fifth create? That's what we got to figure out here.
Okay,
I mean, is it gonna be worth it to spend all this money on this when we don't get any more office space?
yeah, it's gonna be about 3,000 or 4,000 feet.
And you don't know as picky as the historical commission is. They're about restoration. They're not about remodeling and changing it to a different purpose. They're about restoration. We want that building back as close as you can get it to what it was and when it was built, with the exceptions of they understand they want air conditioning in it and everything. So whenever you still go to adding that stuff to get people in and out of those floors safely, you're gonna have a big major cost. But I agree with you. The first thing to do, Andy, and I don't have no problem with it, is as quick as you can, we come up with a price and we try to get it on the May primary election for a bond. That's all you can do. I will not move forward without voter approval on borrowing any
Right.
money. Van Zandt County should not borrow any money, period, without voter approval.
Okay, well, we won't have an idea whether or not we get a grant until probably June or July. So it would need to go in November.
You can't go for the grant until you have permission that the people are willing to pay for that. So you're gonna have to come up with your cost and go to the people. If people say, yes, we're good for this, and then we tell the people, we're gonna spend the money if we get the grant. If we don't get the grant, we're not spending it.
Okay, we don't have to, we still apply for the grant. And if we don't get it, then we don't go to the voters. But why go to the voters before we get a grant?
We got the money we got the grant approved
I can
the
play,
last time.
I can play the same game.
Yeah.
Why go for the grant if the voters aren't gonna approve the rest of it?
Okay. We're just applying for the grant. We don't know if we will get it.
We can't go to the voters and ask them to approve the grant if we don't know how much money.
No, if we know that it's gonna cost $20 million for this, and we're gonna get 9.9, we go to the voters and say, we're asking you for a $10.5 million bond with the caveat there that we won't do this if we won't get the 9.5 million from the state of Texas. We're needing your approval on that amount. I just use those figures out, pick them out of the air, so I'm not saying that's all it's gonna cost is 20 million. It may cost 50 million, but we got to figure that out. And it's just my opinion. You get the voters behind you, get the people behind you, and go for it there.
Well, and again, the reason why I'm bringing this to you, want to know whether to move forward, is because it's going to require some cost in order to get new architecture work done for the fourth and fifth floor, and some more work on the costs involved. And I've put that in the public buildings budget up to $200,000. I was anticipating to spend for engineering work. And I don't anticipate that it'll be that much, but you gotta know. But at least it would get us to a more current cost and more current usefulness of the renovations. So
We can't make any decisions here.
no, I don't.
We
But
just, first of all, we've got to figure out what grant, we gotta apply for the grant.
That's correct. And we can't apply for the grant until
Yeah.
we get updated information, and that's gonna cost us some money, which I already have budgeted, so that's what I plan to spend unless you tell us we're not gonna go for the grant.
Well,
So,
if you spend that money and we don't approve the grant, that's money spent that we,
But if they already out 500,000, so it's, the much already back.
no, it was,
no, that was the other court. We agreed, on that. But we were rejected.
Right, that was money spent.
That was money spent. Yeah.
See with this, and we'll have to put an outlay of money. that-
We got a
You
grant.
gotta put some money out and get some stuff, and that's what you approve was.
no, I don't need approval because I already have it budgeted. I'm just letting people know.
It's-
But if the court doesn't want to apply for this grant, there's no point in spending that money. That's what I'm trying to say. I just need to let them know that I'm going to be spending this money in order to apply for the grant. But money's already budgeted, so I don't need approval for that.
You're correct, Faith. We did spend that money, but we got a grant to do the proposal. We got $500,000.
They did fund the proposal expenditures.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
And we got the architectural drawings, very detailed architectural drawings that we're not having to recreate for this process. We're only having to modify. So that is going to save us money in the long run. Plus, they can be used for construction.
Because you have budgeted money, will that eventually come out of the grant, whether we need the grant or not? Or is that just solely funded out of what you budgeted?
It's solely funded out of the public building amount. That's what I put in there for. Do that. But again, I see it as if we can add roughly 3,000 square feet of usable office space, that saves us from having to go back and, find additional office space or buildings or things like that as we expand and grow. It gives us the opportunity to expand.
Is there a projected location to relocate to where 2, 3 years while it's on?
There's no point in even trying to do that until we find out if we're going to get the grant.
Projected forward, is there even potential locations?
There are potential locations.
They're not just current.
Right. Well, I agree. There's potential locations now, but there's no way to acquire them because we don't have the funding, and there's no reason to try to acquire them until we know for sure that we're going to need them. But yes, I've been working. William.
Sooner or later, the person. There's no way. around this. The
Right.
thing of it is, whether they approve the grant may, whether they approve it or not, following year after, they'll be offering more money again. You budgeted the money to do the research, the investigation, the cost amount to do what needs to be done. You need to go ahead and get that done out of the way, add a little bit more to your estimate so that in case they don't approve it next May, then the following November or the following May, it will. Get the deal done so you know where your costs are at, what's involved. And remember, like he said, the historic commission is not about modifying. They're only about restoration, putting it back to its original design and form. You go in there and start adding stairways and all that, you're liable to run against the where they say no. And shut you
Okay.
down. So that all needs to be investigated, find your costs, get it all together, then submit your app. And for people, if they approve the deal, then go out for your bond, because once they approve it, it's yours.
That's kind of where I'm at. I'm just trying to, I'm just letting everybody know what I'm planning to do in that regard. And I hope that we get a grant in that regard. But yes, there's multiple things that we have to work with the historical commission on what they would do and in order to make it a functional building in that regard. But I've been to several others, and there is ways to make a historical and still have modern conveniences like air conditioning and electrical.
Spread over air conditioning, because air conditioning's been in the building.
Right.
For periods of time. You go talking about adding the stairwell, expanding one floor and moving walls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
No,
Well-
I've been down that road with some of the historic deals before, and they don't
Right.
get too happy over that.
Well, that's where you gotta find out what, the regulations, building code regulations, who wins out in that regard. We already know that, the historical commission came and said that they had to, or no, the jail commission. Jail Standards Commission came in 1990 and told the county they needed to build a fire escape for the inmates on the 5th floor. And the Texas Historical Commission said, no, you're not, because it's not part of the historical building. So that's why we have the jail we have now. It's because of that very reason. So yes, there's a lot of things that have to be worked out, and it's going to take some time.
But you still need to get your prices put together and then apply for the grant. That's hopefully.
Right.
time, and then if the grants,
And-
then that's the citizens put the money, but fill in.
And even if we don't get the grant, even if they don't, we don't have to accept the grant. If we don't want to go out to the, for the rest of the money to the voters, we don't have to accept the grant. But at least we have updated plans for, and costs for what's going to be required to work on the.
Well, historic commission's been better known for it to come back and say, well, we figured out it's gonna cost this amount, but you're only offering this. We'll sit down a lot of times and work, we can see. hey,
No,
you wait
no.
6 months,
They're not giving you any more money than 10 million. It's already,
That's all. but it's-
that's it. That's all that's available. Yes, because they have multiple counties applying for these grants. And they can only hand out so much, and they've already established 10 million as a max amount, which, I'm glad that it's 10 million. But as you look, as you see, the cost each year, they raise their amount that they give us, but then the prices of doing the work is going up well below.
Sometimes they have some counties that say, no, we're not gonna do this, so they end up with that money that's dedicated to that county available to.
That's what happened to us, yes, but it's still not going to exceed $10 million. I do know, because we do know it's not going to exceed $10 million.
Right.
And that's why they offered us 3 million after they first rejected, is because another county refused or declined to take the grant, and so that their $3 million was available to us. So it's a whole process, grant process. I'm sure we do. I don't have that information in front of me, or I haven't reviewed it. But again, it's a whole new thing. We would work with, we would work with a consultant to help us put that together, to help us be in the best position to.
I suggest we take the current plans that we have and add to it. It wouldn't be hard to figure the cost of everything going up, but you can figure that by percentage on what labor's gone up in the past 2 years, what cost materials has gone up by 2 years, and you add that to that amount, and then you take the $9.5 million off of that, and we go to the voters and get their approval before. Otherwise, if everything you're doing, you've got 2 things against you: spending $200,000 and possibly turning the grant down, or possibly the voters not being in behind you on your part of the money. And so then we've just blown $200,000 for another set of plans that are sitting in the attic with the ones we got now.
Is there any way to do a survey with the community to see what the backing is for renovation of the courthouse? Something to find the pulse of what the county's thinking?
I'm sure there is. The state does it on things. I can't remember what they call them. Every now and then they have a deal that you vote on that doesn't mean anything. It's just telling them how you feel. And then they make decisions on how the voters voted for it. But I'm sure you could put some kind of a questionnaire on any ballot that you wanted to get their feeling, to get the feel of the voters.
I just spinning our wheels here. Let's just put it on the agenda to discuss and consider moving forward with the grant application.
Okay,
Be done with it.
all right, I will do that. I would rather have more information, accurate information before we did a survey. To kind of be able to tell people this is what it's gonna cost. At some point in time, you know, and I've already talked to the building inspector, the Kenton City building inspector. We may have to put a walkway, a covered walkway over the front entrance because of the danger of stone popping out to protect us from liability. I'm just, you know, that's possible. And the longer we wait, the more expensive it is because you can't, because of the windows up at the fourth, fifth floor, the metal frames, which haven't been painted in years, will rust to the point where you can't repair them. You have to replace them. So,
There's nobody arguing, especially me. I've never argued, just like William said, that we don't have some repairs to do on this building. Repairs to a building and modifying, remodeling a building are two totally different things. I said from the get-go, we should be spending $500,000 on this building every year. We spent $500,000 on the roof. We spent X amount of money on air conditioner. We ought to be spending money this year on fixing the plaster and stuff on the side of it. We need budget for money for windows. Totally two different things. Doing a courthouse restoration and doing needed repairs.
From a voter's perspective, if you do go to the people, either with a survey or some kind of bond election, before I voted in favor of spending money on this building, I would want to know how that costs 20 million or whatever it might be, stacks up against the cost of a new building, because even repaired, this building is, or restored, this building is insufficient and insecure. And there's no way you'll ever make it as secure as it should be for buildings.
but we can't do anything with the building. I don't believe we can sell it. It's a historic, Texas Historic Commission. So you can't modify, you have to, because it is a, what do they call it? Historical, yes, historical building. It's been designated as a historical mark or historical building. Therefore, the only thing we can do, any modifications to it have to go through the Texas Historical Commission, and they're not going to allow you to make much. So, yeah, you could. Here's the deal: you could build a whole new courthouse, but you're still going to have to maintain this one.
Maintain versus remodel.
Right.
Sufficient for.
Right.
Sufficient for all business. And secure for the types of county business that need to be secure.
Right.
Rooms, et cetera. I understand, we don't want to lose this, no, it's a square, it's the center of the square, but. Also, it's not sufficient and not secure enough to be where our courts are.
Right. So. Okay.
You can always wait long enough, let it be condemned and then build it in court.
Okay, well, that's where you get into the same situation we had with the jail standard.
It's not.
Yeah. Whoever condemns it, but the historical commission will not let you tear it down. So what do?
It's condemned.
Not if the historical commission
No,
says
if
it
it's-
can't.
No, if it's historical, you have to go through them, no
So,
matter what.
Well, then they end up paying for all the repairs on the county itself.
no, they don't.
Okay.
No, they don't.
We agree with this.
Okay. All right. So item number 6, we're just going to table because Chad is not here, and that's discuss status of the radio system and towers. Actually, we talked about the lease, the building lease for the Wells Point. That probably covered most of it. Item number 8, adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
All right.
So,
All right. We 12:30, no, 25 p.m. We are adjourned.
I don't think you have to do that because we don't take votes in. I think it's just, I think it's just agree that it's over.
Okay.
It's just over.
It's